We've got the very latest on Matthew Stafford's back. Also, an updated 53-man roster prediction after the Rams' first preseason game. And some very expensive rookie hazing for the Rams' rookie wide receivers. What do the vets make them do? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Join the party, trying to get to 19,000 subs before the Rams opener against the Texans on September 7th. So if you haven't yet joined the party, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And if you're an everyday viewer and you want to support this show, hit the like button and drop a comment down below. Podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 sports, chat sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. And we've got another delicious episode of Locked On Rams coming your way. A jam-packed show on today's episode. The Rams' 53-man roster already is going to look different because of what we saw in the first game of the preseason. We've got the daily update on Matthew Stafford's back. This time, an NFL Insider breaks down the latest. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Okay, so we're going to get to Matthew Stafford here in a second. But first, just wanted to talk quickly about one of my favorite things during training camp, and that is the veterans bonding with the rookies. The youth, the veterans going out for their yearly dinner, the rookie dinner, that always is fun for the vets, the ones that have already got paid, the ones that already have their mansions and millions and black cards, and they're already chilling financially. And then you got the rookies who are, okay, this is, for some of these guys, the first time they've made real money in their life. Well, Davante Adams, he posted on his Instagram story that they went out and he posted the bill on that story, and it came out to $15,022.21. Rams rookie 7th-round receiver Kanata Mumfield, he joked, quote, "We'll be splitting this." You saw him laughing about like, uh-oh, this is going to be a lot. And then Adam said, "Welcome to the league, my boys." And you can even zoom in and you can look at exactly what made this bill so expensive. And of course, it was the alcohol. You had 2 bottles of BTL, Chateau, Mouton, Rothschild, Bordeaux. That cost $3,120. 13 shots of Don Julio 1942 cost you about $1,274. And 10 shots of Hakushu 18 whiskey cost you $1,980. Man, I'd be like, hey, all you guys are ordering Natty Lights, okay? Natty Lights and water, all right? But no, honestly, this is all good times. It shows you the vets, the rookies, they're having a good time and showing them the ropes. And part of this league is you got to take care of your vets, and you got to kind of show these rookies what it's like to be in the league. But okay, fun stuff's over. Now let's get into the serious stuff. And then that, of course, is about Matthew Stafford's back. So that is the number one topic in the Rams universe right now. And on yesterday's show, we talked about the treatment, the immortal chamber, the red light therapy, and how Matthew Stafford is just not ready. He threw 60 passes on Saturday, was supposed to practice Monday, but they've still held him out. Well, the latest update comes from NFL Insider Adam Shefter. And Shefter said, quote, "We are just over 3 weeks away. He's 37 years old. It's a backs linger. I think it's problematic, but again, I'm just telling you, they are not worried. They have not been concerned, and they have maintained all along that if there were a game this week, Matthew Stafford would be out there and he would be playing." So the big takeaway there is that's two very different emotions, right? One, calling it problematic, and two, saying the Rams aren't worried and the Rams aren't concerned. The one thing that I continue to remind myself anytime this does give me an anxiety attack, and anytime I do wake up at 3:30 in the morning in a cold sweat, that the Rams continue to say that if there was a game tomorrow, then Matthew Stafford would be playing in it. So until they change their tune on that and hint at the possibility of missing games early in the season, then I'm going to at least continue to be optimistic. I am the ever optimist, but I'm also a realist that likes to keep it 100 with you. And as new doubts creep in, it's not, is he going to play? It's how will he perform when he plays? Will that back lead to any difference in the way that he can throw that football? Will you have any change in velocity, any change in his ability to throw out of structure and make plays when he's breaking the pocket? Will that limit him in any capacity from a performance level? That is my big question, because he's 37 years old, and you know that he is going to have his eyes wide open for any type of hits, and will those hits impact any throws? So that is kind of where I'm at. And until I see Matthew Stafford on a field throwing a football in a practice or a game or a joint practice session, I'm going to continue to be worried at least a little bit. I have maintained I'm at a 4.5 on my worry scale at this point. For me, that is on the higher end. I have heard from people that, yeah, it's problematic, kind of like this, but that there's no one that doesn't expect him to play at this point. And at what percentage will he be at from a Matthew Stafford level? That's the big question. Shefter would also say at some point there has to be some level of concern that builds up, but it hasn't been within the organization. They remain quietly and privately confident that he's going to be ready for the regular season opener against the Houston Texans. So it's not that he's going to be ready physically as far as health-wise, the back is not giving him pain. It's you got to ramp up. You got to get a rhythm. You got to get a chemistry. You don't want to just throw a guy out there cold turkey, even though he's played in this league for a long, long time. He's an established veteran and one of the best quarterbacks in his organization, of any organization of his generation. So that really is the big thing for me, is just how quickly can you get him to any sense of normalcy from a practice and a routine standpoint. And it's good to hear, I guess, that the Rams organization internally is this confident. Sean McVay, just kind of reading the tea leaves and examining his quotes over the last couple of days, it does sound like, at least from a media standpoint, he's trying to take a more cautionary approach as far as what he's reporting and setting expectations for his star quarterback. McVay said recently after a practice, he's so in tune with his body, and talking with him, I feel really good. And I think that's why you want to be as careful and cautious as possible, because of the importance of him feeling good. And these are things that I don't believe it's going to affect his ability to be ready to roll. We've got a lot of time. You don't have that much time, okay? The time is ticking. Let's be honest here. We're getting closer and closer to September 7th. He would go on to say, I think the fair answer is, and this is about the current status of Stafford, when you're going to see him back, he says, I'm going to take it a day at a time as well. And he said, I can't be 27 days now in Houston. We have to be able to have agility and flexibility, and that's not exclusive to Matthew. That's really for all our guys. I think the most important thing is, number one, my job is to support him, put my arm around him, and let him know that, hey, I love you. I'm sorry that we're going through this. Let's keep a positive mindset, and let's continue to attack this thing to try to be able to get our hands around it so that he can feel as good as possible when he opens up against Houston. So he says, feel good as possible. So that almost leads me to believe that they almost have accepted the fact that he's not going to be getting a new back, right? He's not going to just be getting a back transplant and he's just going to be good as new. That, look, at this stage of your career, with the wear and tear that he's had and the physical, violent game that this is, that he is who he is at this point, and that is a guy that is probably always playing with a little something. The most important thing is, though, optimizing him and getting him to feel as good as you possibly can. Now, just looking at some other quarterbacks that have dealt with significant back injuries throughout their careers, We know that Phillip Rivers suffered a back injury. Tony Romo, he suffered a back injury that really derailed his career. And with Phillip Rivers, he got the epidural that Matthew Stafford got. Only difference is he got it during the season. And same thing goes with Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck also had a similar situation where he got an epidural early in his season. And that's the big difference is this is taking place in training camp. So you can look at this in a couple of different ways, is that they have identified it early enough to where they can treat it, to where they can put him in the best position to not deal with any pain or setbacks during the season. Or you can say, hey, it's so early that we don't even know how it's going to perform in a game. We don't know how it's going to look when he's actually out there playing tackle football against some of the world's best athletes that are trying to pressure him and drag him to the ground and throw him to the ground every single chance they get. So that's the way I look at it, is that, yeah, you can see it as a positive, and compared to those guys, Rivers and Romo and Hasselbeck, guys that have dealt with back injuries that receive epidural shots during the season, and they were able to continue playing. But look, at this point, you just have to put your trust in this organization, put your trust in the toughness of Matthew Stafford. He knows he has more yesterdays than tomorrows in his career. He knows that he's not 100% because it's impossible to be when you've played that position for this long. I just hope that for his sake, the organization's sake, that they are honest with each other really about kind of where this is at, because this really has just taken so many twists and turns now that you're just not going to feel good until you see him out there throwing the pigskin. And that's where I'm at. I don't care what they tell me. I don't care what he says. I need to see it. I need to see him get tackled. I need to see him get sacked. I mean, of course, you never want to see that as far as how it impacts the game, but it should make me feel better about where he's at physically. But coming up next, the Rams' 53-man roster looks very different than it did last year. It already has some differences that we can take from the Rams' first preseason game. We're also talking about some more key Rams players that will be back in action this week. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. And we got some MVP predictions rolling in. The odds for this year's 2025 season MVP, Lamar Jackson is the favorite at plus 430, followed by Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, plus 600 and plus 650. Then you've got Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert in that mix. Could Joe Burrow have a big bounce back season? The funny thing, this is such a quarterback award. That's why it kind of makes me laugh. It's just such a quarterback award, and understandably so. It's the most important position in professional sports. Josh Allen having a good year last year. Patrick Mahomes. I think Lamar Jackson. Just why not? Go with the favorite. Let's go Lamar Jackson. I wanted to say Matthew Stafford, but I'm not sure about the back situation. But, well, that's a great one. So also your division champ, it's got to be the Rams. I don't care. I'm sticking with the Rams. So that would be my division champ this year. Call me biased if you want. I still believe in this team. I still believe that they're going to have a healthy Matthew Stafford to start the year, or at least healthy enough to play, and give me the Rams in the NFC West. Now, visit FanDuel today. Visit the FanDuel app and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Okay, so the Rams are getting some key guys back this week. Even if it isn't Matthew Stafford, Kobe Turner, who was out for a week with a sore back. And, of course, this back theme is taking on a life of its own. But his isn't to the level that Matthew Stafford's is, and he's also a much younger guy. So he's going to be back. He's the captain. He really has turned into the heart and soul of the Rams defense. So that is definitely a positive. You're also going to get linebacker Nate Landman back into the fold. And Landman's a guy that has really, really impressed his teammates and coaches early on, has really solidified his role. He definitely is going to be an important cog in this defense. He's been dealing with a calf strain. He's going to be back. You also get safety Cam Curl. He was stepped on in practice. He tweaked his ankle. He missed the scrimmage with the Cowboys and the game with the Cowboys, and he's already going to his 6th season. You want to get him on the field as quickly as possible, and he's someone that could be pushed for snaps with guys like Cameron Kinchins and Jalen McCullough. Those guys have had strong camps, so he needs to get back on the field as soon as possible so he can play as much as he's hoping to this season. Then Akello Witherspoon, he's been dealing with a calf injury since late July. He's someone that is a veteran at this point. He's been within this organization for a while now. Been back again. Well, he's just going to get a couple reps, couple practices to really get things going for himself, and he's going to be right there. Him and Kobe Durant, they're battling for that starting cornerback spot, so he needs to get out there as soon as possible. Defensive tackle Poona Ford, he's going to be a massive addition to this team. I've said that all offseason. He's someone that clogs the middle, can stop the run. He's been dealing with a groin issue, some groin tightness. He suffered that during the Cowboys scrimmage, so they gave him the rest of that week off. He is going to be back. Then guard Kevin Dotson, he had a chest contusion. He suffered that during the Cowboys scrimmage. So basically, it's a massive bruise on his chest, and it's nothing major, nothing concerning, but he's back in practice. You got tight end Mark Redmond, who, if you don't know who Mark Redmond is, deep on the depth chart, undrafted free agent. He's back. And other thing, too, is Terrence Ferguson. So Terrence Ferguson, this is one to really watch for how that position plays out because he's been dealing with some stuff as well. And you want to get past those groin injuries. You don't love the groin injuries, especially for a tight end. It's got to move, a big guy. Well, he has taken his first real significant reps as far as just kind of getting back in the mix with the team. He suffered that groin injury on August 2nd, and he didn't play in the first preseason game against the Cowboys. We don't know if he's going to play this weekend against the Chargers or even against the Browns next week. But for him, it's not, are you going to start? We know that's going to be Tyler Higbee. It's the battle for the TE2 spot, the second tight end on the depth chart between Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen. So he needs to get back into practice, show this team what he's capable of, and hopefully you can put this past him because I'm really expecting things from him this season. Sean McVay said that he's running some routes on air, so he's at least moving, and we'll see when he can get back to full practice mode. But okay, now let's get into the 53-man roster. We'll probably stretch this out for a couple of episodes. We'll just run through it pretty quick as well. Quarterbacks, easy. Stafford, Garoppolo, Stetson Bennett. You'll cut, Dresser, win. So Stetson Bennett, he's been one of the big standouts early on during training camp. Was really good through 2 touchdowns in the Rams' first preseason game, their win against the Cowboys. Had the interception, was not really that bad of a ball, a tad bit underthrown, but his ability to make throws to all levels, layering some throws in over linebackers, it's been impressive. It was his best game as a pro quarterback, and you want to see him continue to build that confidence, continue to build that accuracy, continue to have chemistry with the Rams receivers. And hey, what would he look like with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, right? Guys like that kind of makes you wonder, but it was just a great ball to Xavier Smith. And I feel really good about where Stetson Bennett's at, and you're not going to cut him. It's going to be pretty difficult to do that. And if you do, it's going to be a team that will claim him off of waivers if they release him. So yeah, good for Stetson Bennett. I'm really happy for the success he's had early on in training camp. Running backs, 4 RBs. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Jarquez Hunter, and Cody Schrader. Cody Schrader really had himself a great game in the Rams' first preseason game. He had 5 carries, he had 59 yards, he had a receiving touchdown. He showed that burst, and the Rams, I think, really like this guy. I really do. And we'll see what happens with Ronnie Rivers. Sean McVay did say that he's going to be out for a little bit of time. So that's not good. A little injury that he's been dealing with there. And if you look at who will not make it, that's who will be cut. Jordan Waters and Ronnie Rivers. Wide receiver, 6 wide receivers. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I think there's a pretty decent chance that they make this team. Tutu Atwell for 3, Jordan Whittington 4. And then you look at the bottom, I've got Xavier Smith and Kanata Mumfield. The guy's not making it. Mario Williams, he dropped the only target headed his way in their first preseason game. Britton Covey, Drake Stoops, True Edwards, and Brendan Presley. The interesting thing about Britton Covey is he was a Pro Bowl level special teams returner. But I think what you get from Xavier Smith is someone that is more valuable as an actual receiver and someone that can do a lot of really nice things on special teams as well. So this really was my initial prediction of the 6 they would take. So nothing has changed from that standpoint. Some of the guys on the outside looking in are going to have to really step up to really impress the coaches to the level where they would want to keep some of those previously mentioned guys off the list. I think Covey's the big wild card because he did play well. I mean, he really did. Just there's just not enough space for Xavier Smith and Covey because I think that Kanata Mumfield, he's the best true receiver of that group. But I do think that this is still a group that is not a complete lock at this point, but it's getting close to it. It's getting pretty close to it. Then the tight end spot 4, Tyler Higbee, Old Faithful. Don't call him old, call him classic. He's vintage. He still knows the offense, can still make some plays. He's your TE1 to start the year, followed by Terrence Ferguson. I still believe in him. I still think that once he gets back, they're going to want to make sure that he's getting those snaps. So then if Tyler Higbee wears down, if he gets injured, then they can go to some more Terrence Ferguson, try to have a flex tight end, try to get a guy that can move the chains and do some really dynamic things with the football that they have not had at that position in a long time. So I still got Terrence Ferguson as the TE2. Then Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen. The guys that ultimately get cut. This one's a pretty easy one. Anthony Torres and Mark Redmond. So Allen, he was the starting tight end in the game. He played 12 snaps, which I think for him, I take that as a compliment. I read that as, I'm only playing 12 snaps because I've already essentially made the cut based on what the coaches are telling me. If he played more, that would tell me, okay, they want to see more out of him to see if he could prove to them that he is good enough to make this squad. So I think he's a safe bet to make those 4, and the other guys are essentially locks. You've already invested money in Colby Parkinson. You're still hoping that he can really turn it around in year 2 and the light switch can come on and you can get what you're hoping to out of him in year 2. So hopefully that's the case. And Higbee and Ferguson, they go without saying at this point. Ferguson's your top draft picks and Higbee is Higbee. Then offensive line. This one gets fun. This one gets interesting. And you know the obvious ones, Alec Jackson. He's been dealing with the blood clots. We know that, but things are trending in the right direction for him as long as he has no setbacks. I fully expect him, of course, to be the starting left tackle for this team throughout the year. Followed by Steve Avila at guard, Coleman Shelton. They brought him back to play center. Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein, Bo Limmer, DJ Humphries. DJ Humphries is going to be a good backup option. Justin Dedich, Warren McClendon Jr., Willie Lampkin. My man, Willie Lampkin. I love this guy. I mean, yes, he's undersized, but really at that position, it's about leverage. It's about arm length, too. I mean, it's really similar to Coleman Shelton. So, yeah, a lot's been made about his size because he's 5'10", and you're really looking at guys that position 6'3" and up. But it's about leverage, about staying low. It's about the pad level contact that he receives. And I think that he was just so good in his first game, creating running lanes, not allowing pressures. I really, really love what I saw to Willie Lampkin. He could be one of the steals, one of the gems of the UDFAs in the 2025 class. And then the cuts, you got David Quessenberry, KT Leafston, Dylan McMahon, AJR Curry, Wyatt Bowles, Ben Dooley, and Trey Wettig. So the only thing here is the difference here as far as week 1 to week 2 and pre-training camp, post preseason game 1 is Willie Lampkin enters the 53-man roster and David Quessenberry is left out. And I think the conversation here between Quessenberry and Lampkin is one has proven himself more in this league. He's been a capable lineman at this level. He's more of a true veteran. But I think you look at the potential of Willie Lampkin and the performance too, and the ceiling that he has, and you just kind of want to continue to build with that. Warren McClendon Jr. did not play, so that tells you right there McClendon is already surpassed Quessenberry, and he's ahead of him on the depth chart, so he's safe. And the Rams, you don't need 3 backup tackles, so Humphreys, who didn't play either, he's the backup left tackle, so that solidifies that. We already knew that. You brought in a veteran for that reason. Lampkin, though, like I said, a 94 PFF grade. Just the fact that he's really stood out, and he's been the story early on as far as the breakout. And then McMahon is injured, so the Rams, you understand that. And then Leafston, I think, is the guy that did not take advantage of his opportunity, right? He's there with that. But coming up next, we're going to shift to the defensive side of the football for the 53-man roster. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Travis and the rest of the gang here at Locked On are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And what I love about this year in Yahoo Fantasy is it's continuing to get better. One of my new features is the new Guillotine Leagues. They just dropped, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Every week, the lowest scoring team is eliminated, and the last one standing wins. Feeling like Squid Game meets fantasy football. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the updates they're rolling out this month are just wild in the best way possible. So I'm playing multiple leagues like I always do. And my friends and I, some of the people here at Locked On, added this new Guillotine League. It's going to be so much fun. Whether you're all in on something new too, or you're just sticking with head-to-head leagues or jumping into public leagues, Yahoo's got you covered. Anyone you want to play, they've got you. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they just dropped the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football at Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets limited each week until there's one team left standing, like we said. And with the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. Now, we are running out of time on this episode, so we're going to stretch the defensive side of the 53-man roster prediction to tomorrow's show. Also, a reminder that today we are recording our next squad episode, the Rams squad, with myself, Gavin Carlson, and Rams legend Michael Brockers. He'll be on every single episode. Cannot wait to talk some Rams football with them. But we'll finish this one off with the valuation of the Rams. So since the Rams moved to LA in 2016, their franchise value has just continued to skyrocket. Stan Kroenke hiring Sean McVay and the success they've had, going to 2 Super Bowls, winning one of them, building SoFi Stadium, which is just a absolute magical place, a football cathedral, one of the best first-class stadiums, state-of-the-art on the planet. Well, Sportico, they came up with their latest franchise valuations, and the Rams were second in the NFL. They were $10.43 billion. Only team worth more than the Rams is the Dallas Cowboys at $12.8 billion. By the way, the Cowboys logo, it's a star. No, it's a rating, a 1-star franchise. Okay, I'm only joking. But the Rams are just one of 3 teams that are worth $10 billion. You got the Cowboys and the New York Giants. The Patriots are 4th at $8.76 billion. 49ers are 5th at $8.6 billion. So Rams worth more than the San Francisco 49ers, and that was a big jump for the Rams. Last year, they were worth $7.79 billion. It was also second in the NFL last year, but now you're in that $10 billion range. So it's so impressive to see what the Rams have done with this organization and Stan Kroenke and company and all the great decisions they've made. It's just really unbelievable. I mean, think about this. When he became the majority owner of the team back in 2010, he bought the Rams for $750 million. So 15 years later, they're worth over $10 billion. It's just unbelievable where this franchise has gone with Stan Kroenke behind this team and giving them the resources they need to compete at the highest level. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Do me a huge favor, hit the like button and drop a comment on your way out. Podcast listeners, always write us a review. If you do, we'll read it on the show. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.